each student, I would ask each student as they begin to introduce themselves and perhaps say your major, and if you want, your hometown as well. So those of us who are on the call and who will be watching later on video know who you are. So thank you all for being here, and I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you everyone for coming to our presentation. Making Ends Meet, Food Deserts in Chicago is brought to you by myself, Tyler Baer.
Mary Marchluski.
Margaretta McKinnon.
Jacob Pankratz.
And Lindsay Wigand.
So what is the problem? Food deserts are areas in which people live far distances from stores where they cannot buy fresh and healthy foods. This impacts low-income colored individuals with low transportation availability. It occurs in locations that include various rural and both dense and less dense urban areas. The problem that we will be addressing are food deserts within Chicago. 22 out of 77 communities have no large grocery stores or supermarkets. Of the 22, 15 of these communities are predominantly African American communities, and the remaining 7 are mixed race South Side neighborhoods. Although we will be focusing on Chicago, there are food deserts in many areas across the United States which have common attributes that can help explain why they are deserts in general. There are many causes as to why food deserts come to be. Causes and correlating factors of food deserts depend on what the environment is like. There are 3 main causes. The root cause, which are racism, redlining, along with white flight. And these causes happened during the 1930s era, where the white settlers moved out and took most of the business with them, causing those that are low poverty unable to move aside them. The distal causes are supply and demand problems, along with the grocery stores that are not being attracted towards the food deserts. But the proximal cause of the deserts have to do with vehicle and transportation availability. Sometimes people don't have their own transportation, so relying on others for rides can be difficult. Although public transportation is widely accessible, it takes a lot of time to travel with them, such as switching routes or having to figure out the bus schedules. And this can add additional stress to the process that no one wants.
Problem, significance, and harm. As chain stores have relocated from poor neighborhoods, convenience stores have taken their place. These stores are often more expensive and less likely to stock fresh produce. It is more expensive for these stores to stock fresh produce because they would have to purchase on a small scale rather than in bulk, which makes it pricier. Since it would be more expensive to purchase, they would have to sell it at a higher price. 23.5 million people in the United States live more than 1 mile away from a grocery store. This creates an issue of people not having their own vehicles or ways of transportation of transporting their groceries from the store to their house. Food deserts are often in areas of low income and areas with high minority populations. 1/3 of Chicago is African American, and 80% of African Americans in Chicago live in low food access areas. Another part is the South Side of Chicago has a very high crime rate, and this also plays into people feeling safe transporting their groceries. On the left is a graph that shows the average distance people live from a grocery store, and on the right shows minority populations based off the census. And as you can see, there's a direct correlation in the South Side of Chicago between distance and race. And then why something should be done is to provide affordable and nutritious food for all people, transportation opportunities for everyone to get their groceries safely to and from the store, and our applied innovation will provide education and volunteer opportunities for people within the area. Now Mary will talk about our first previous solution, Fresh Moves.
So Fresh Moves is a restored Chicago transit bus run by the Urban Growers Collective. This bus sells fresh produce and pantry staples to people in the south and west sides of Chicago. The bus goes to 15 stops every week and it works, but it has gone in and out of business many times. Currently, it is running and in business, but there are frequent short shutdowns due to bus maintenance, which is not ideal. One assumption of Fresh Moves is that there is enough funding and cheap produce to provide the necessary amount of food for weekly stops throughout the year. However, getting produce is not usually a problem for them due to their 8 urban farms across Chicago. This solution does have its downsides, the biggest one being that it has gone in and out of business multiple times, as I mentioned earlier. This brings its sustainability into question. Driving a bus around the city and heating it in the winter uses a lot of gas, which is quite expensive and bad for the environment as well. It also has many stoppages due to maintenance, so people who rely on the bus for groceries are out of luck during that time.
That brings us to our second previous solution, supermarkets. Supermarkets and many other similar Walmart types of stores have become a simple sort of band-aid solution to food insecurity in food deserts across the country. According to a study conducted by NYU, supermarkets are placed in areas of food deserts and are expected to provide ample opportunity to people that were previously unable to travel to them because of distance. The solution affects a number of populations. Specifically in Chicago, low-income minorities and anyone who qualifies as living in a food desert are affected. This theoretical solution was conceived and is being funded by local and state governments. The thought behind encouraging supermarket companies to place stores in food deserts was theoretically a good idea. One assumption was that although Black and Indigenous people of color and non-BIPOC perceive to be eating healthier or perceive that they have more access to healthy food, they might not know what to eat or how to eat in order to be healthy. Another major assumption is that people have adequate funds to purchase healthy food. Healthy food is priced significantly more high than cheap processed food. The final assumption that was made when theorizing the supermarket placement idea was that people would have proper transportation to the stores. To put this into perspective, Chicago is one of, if not the largest cities in the Midwest. In Chicago, it also becomes extremely cold in the wintertime. Temperatures below freezing could cause hypothermia if not properly dressed. Therefore, for people to walk to a grocery store upwards of 1 mile each way does not seem feasible. In addition, the south side of Chicago is also a very dangerous part of the city. Violence and crime rates are especially high in this part of the city. The national average for murder per 100,000 people is about 5, but on the south side, that number jumps to 19. The fact of the matter is, with crime numbers like Chicago has, mixed with below freezing temps, walking a considerable distance outside to buy your groceries seems ignorant.
Our last previous solution that we'll look at is Brown's grocery stores and then his ShopRite stores, which are modified grocery stores that not only have regular grocery store features like food, he has additional features like medical care, pharmacies, nutritionists, and social workers. He's opened about 12 stores in about as many years in the greater metropolitan area of Philadelphia. His biggest philosophy for these stores have been that if you stock it, they will come, which has been mostly true as they have been successful at maintaining high profit margins. The major downsides of the solution is that it takes a lot of supervising to get off the ground to establish all of those additional features that are in the stores. Additionally, even once the store is off the ground, it still does require a high amount of supervision in terms of stocking and making sure that nothing goes wrong. Additionally, because of how much supervision it takes, it's a little bit hard to get these stores started, which is why he hasn't been able to open as many as would be desired. Additionally, even when people have access to healthy food and grocery stores to buy it, they don't always know what to buy, especially if they're on a budget. After looking at our past solutions, we've come up with our solution, which is Number One Foods. Number One Foods is a grocery store that we will open on the southern side of Chicago that will provide people with fresh and affordable food in addition to special features, much like Brown's store, including medical care, social workers, nutritionists, and special foods, and employing those previously incarcerated. We will also be adding a delivery service and cooking classes to fix some of the problems that we found in Brown's solution. We will now switch to discussing the steps to implementing our solution. The first steps of implementing our solution will be forming a company. We've elected to form an LLC to provide us with some protection in case anything should go wrong financially. In terms of financials, we will need to register for taxes, open bank accounts, credit cards, and register for insurance. The grocery store aspect of it involves us getting our grocer's license and meeting with the health department so we're approved to sell food. Financially, we also need to look at the expected cost because we know starting a grocery store is not cheap. We're expecting around $300,000 in terms of starting costs for the grocery store, the materials, and the food to sell. Additionally, we're expecting around $250,000 on the location and getting the construction started. We'll be doing this primarily through government funding like the Illinois Fresh Food Fund and the USDA food grants that are available for grocery stores that are opening up in registered food deserts, which we will be. These grants are available to help these grocery stores get off the ground and become self-sustaining. Additionally, because we are opening a grocery store in a food desert, we are available for some government tax cuts, which will assist us financially as well. In addition to government funding, we will also be receiving funding from investors, donations, shopping with local brands, and volunteers.
Here on this slide is the address and an image of the location where we plan to purchase this lot and also start the construction of our grocery store.
So that brings us to the question of where will we get our food from? The food that we will buy will either come from a food manufacturer sales division or a wholesale bulk market. The distributors would have to come directly under direct distribution to our store because initially, being fiscally stretched, it would be difficult to have a separate warehouse to house the items for distribution to our stores. Direct distribution would cut the cost of having a warehouse, but unfortunately would bump up the prices of the food themselves. One way that some other stores like Aldi and Trader Joe's cut costs is by not stocking their shelves with all name brand items. Trader Joe's, for example, would buy their items directly and put them under a house name, quote unquote, Trader Joe's brand. This is something that we can apply to our store and provide lower prices to our customers.
As we go day to day, the hours will be from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day. Throughout the store, each department will have their own schedules and managers. The cashier, stock room, and delivery drivers will be paid by our company and following any policies that we have. We also have the specialty departments, which are the medical care, social work, and nutritionists within the grocery store, and they'll be provided by outside sources and will have their own schedule and payment plans through whomever they work for. Alongside the special departments, we have added a delivery aspect to our business. Our delivery service will be from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day. In order to order the food, you may call in the store, but we would prefer if customers use the website to order online. Online shopping will be open 24/7, although they will only get their groceries during the time of our delivery service or others that are available. As we get the business up and running, we'll start getting this app ready that will allow customers to order right from their phones and tablets. After 5 p.m., the other delivery services will take over, such as Uber Eats, Eat Street, Instacart, etc., until 10 p.m. There's a minimum of $10 to be able to check out and get items delivered, and there's no maximum amount for the customer's purchase. While checking out, there will be a 2.5% fee of the total amount of groceries being delivered. This is to help the business and with paying the drivers. Drivers are able to accept either cash, SNAP, credit, or debit when the customers are ready to pay. Our delivery drivers are being paid hourly, so they are not allowed to accept any extra payments such as tips.
When finding employees, we plan to work with the ex-offender reentry initiative that was implemented in Chicago as an attempt to help those who were previously incarcerated find work. This initiative screens ex-offenders and decides whether they are suitable for work or not. If they are approved to join the workforce, we will hire them as soon as possible to help them get back on their feet after serving time. Because they have already been screened, we will not have to do background checks. Our managers will be carefully selected for their attitude because dealing with ex-offenders may get difficult at times, but hopefully the screening done on the employees will keep any issues to a minimum. If we do not get enough employees from the ex-offender reentry initiative, we will have regular applications for the store. We plan to offer cooking classes in our store to help teach community members how to cook for themselves and eat right. Kitchen costs will be low because appliance companies will get advertising by having their products in our kitchen. And in exchange for that advertising, they will sell us appliances at a discounted price. We would not like to charge for our cooking classes, and if we did, it would be only for the food that the students in the class used. They could then take any extras home with them. Most food companies also have chefs that promote their product, so if we had cooking classes with a single company's food products, they would probably teach it for free simply because once those in the class use their brand, they would be more likely to pick it up off the shelf. Additionally, we plan to ask those in the community who do cook or have a signature dish if they would like to come teach a class. This would build a sense of connectedness within the South Side. Nutritionists at hospitals would also likely be willing to host a cooking class or two because they want the public to know how to be healthy. Therefore, they would teach the class at little to no cost. Classes taught by nutritionists could focus on specialized eating, such as meals for diabetics or those interested in weight loss. Additionally, we plan to partner with the Pritzker School of Medicine to provide basic healthcare and advice. There will be free medical student volunteer clinics on Mondays and Thursdays. These students will not be paid and will be encouraged to work at our store because they will receive needed volunteer hours for school. If shoppers should seek more advanced treatment than these students can offer, we will have flyers from the Southside Healthcare Collaborative, which is a place where community members can receive affordable healthcare that is tailored to their needs. We would like to partner with the Southside Help Center, which is an organization of social workers that is focused on educating the community on AIDS and HIV, while also working to provide housing, counseling, and youth programs. We plan to have one of their social workers in our store at least 3 days a week and have a bulletin board with all the events they host listed. We would also collect donations for the center at the checkouts, which would make the relationship mutually beneficial. For the analysis of our solution, we wanted to look into limitations, expansion, and more. Funding will be our biggest limitation. Purchasing a lot and building a store big enough for our needs, paying employees, and stocking our shelves will not be cheap. However, with grants and investors, we should be able to achieve this. It may be difficult to find managers and supervisors that fit our expectations as well, because they will be asked to deal with and discipline potentially difficult employees. Due to this, there will likely be a lot of hands-on work done by us in the store until we can find people who fit that bill. One other limitation of this store will be that people may not be able to get to it or have proper transportation. We have tried to make it as accessible as possible, especially with delivery, but we cannot deliver a lot of the aspects of our store, such as medical care, cooking classes, working with a nutritionist, and social work. Additionally, we may end up losing money in the endeavor while trying to keep our prices low.
As the supermarket becomes more successful, we'll be able to expand the business. As said before, customers will be able to order their groceries with the website. Once the delivery service becomes more successful, we'll be able to start thinking about having an app for those that can use to order groceries right from their phones and tablets. We will also be thinking about expanding our store to other locations, and we'll like to keep the locations around the areas where food deserts are located. We're hoping that in the long run that the store will be able to run just like a grocery store with the addition of all the special programs that we have.
So why is our solution better than the previous three? Our design solution is better than Fresh Moves because it offers more services. It is also going to be more of a permanent fixture in the community as opposed to the Fresh Moves bus having to stop a couple hours a week in many different locations. One issue that will be much less prevalent in our store than Fresh Moves is winter. We'll be able to continue during the winter without issue. And while Fresh Moves does the same, it's going to be quite costly to them to keep their bus running. Our store is better than one of our other previous solutions, supermarkets, because we can also simply offer more services. Our customers will have groceries regardless of weather, crime, or walking distance. Our store is better than our third applied innovation solution because first and foremost, we again will have the option of delivery added to our stores. This makes life a lot easier for people that either do not have transportation to get to the store or do not have the time to get to the store because of work. Additionally, we will still have less common grocery store amenities like a nutritionist, social worker, pharmacist. In addition to the many features Brown stores have, we will be adding an additional feature, which is cooking classes. This could be very useful to help shoppers on the South Side learn how to cook, as some might not be very skilled in that area.
Those who could possibly resist our solution would be other stores because they would see us as competition, and also individuals concerned about tax increases and gentrification. Those who would advocate for our store would be people living within the food deserts, those seeking employment opportunities, and the government to reduce food desert numbers in Chicago.
In conclusion, too many Americans are left without adequate, fresh, and healthy food. Although there have been many solutions on how we could fix food deserts, none of the solutions that we saw repaired this issue completely. Our applied innovation, Number One Foods, incorporates many of the positives and negatives that we examined while looking at previous solutions. And our solution will provide healthy and affordable food to the residents of the South Side of Chicago. It will also do so with minimal downsides, be easily maintainable over time, and has room for expansion. Are there any questions?
Great, and thank you all. And there are lots of questions in the chat, so let's get to them. We do have a few minutes. So the first is, could rehabilitation of an existing but abandoned grocery store cut your construction costs?
Lindsay, go ahead.
That is something that we looked at. However, something to keep in mind is when a lot of grocery stores fled this area, we're talking more 1960s. So although they were there originally, right now, the ones that did leave aren't in the best position to be able to use those. Additionally, we did look into them, and some of the ones that were still there were far more expensive, and it would be easier for us to just sort of start from scratch with the funding that we had.
Next question, have you considered partnering with delivery apps to help cut costs, i.e. partnering with a service like DoorDash in a mutually beneficial relationship where they help cover some of the initial costs, construction, etc., in exchange for them being your sole delivery provider?
I guess we have not thought about that yet for them being our sole delivery provider, but we have thought about partnering with like Instacart, like Greta said, and other types of delivery services, as well as our own delivery drivers.
Yeah, we need to have our own delivery service because any other delivery services that have apps will not accept things such as SNAP, and that's a big part of how these people get their food. So we would not be able to just have a different delivery service do our delivery. We need one of our own as well.
Okay, a third question, how soon in advance would patrons need to order delivery for them to receive their needed products? A few hours, 1 day, or more?
Yeah, that isn't something we had looked at so specifically. I think it really depends on where we are in sort of the construction of our store. Early on, we may not have as many employees to fulfill orders, within a couple hours. So we're looking at possibly like having to order 24 hours in advance. But hopefully, as we progress further with the store and we'll have more employees available, we can make that process happen quite a bit faster.
Okay, next question, have you considered operating a shuttle service? Potentially partnering with another company that will give you a discounted rate in exchange for free advertising in the store, or working with local businesses to see about investing mutually in a shuttle service to split the costs?
So we have not considered that, and it would probably be a good thing to look into. When I looked into it, I saw that there were a lot of bus stops in the area that were like a 5 or so minute walk from the store, which again isn't really ideal in super cold weather, but it's better than having to walk like a mile to a grocery store. I think that would be a good idea to look into though. So thank you.
Next question, in regards to the accessibility question, would patrons be able to take the bus or public transportation to the store?
The answer is yes, as long as they can get themselves to a bus stop. They can find the bus stop by our store and then walk there.
And also, if they can't get to the bus stop, right, we have that option of delivery, which would cut down the transportation aspect for them.
And then there's a final question in the chat. How did you all choose the Shields Avenue location? Have you considered the use of publicly available data with the Geographic Information System, GIS, to inform the selection of a location that is easily accessible to potential customers? The GIS analysis isn't as hard as you may think. RC student Rebecca Raitt and I put together a GIS for Milwaukee County for studying food deserts and used it to analyze factors related to food retailers' locations. So maybe that question, how did you choose Shields Avenue?
We chose Shields Avenue because of, one, the price within that area, two, that it was located right within where we wanted to put our store, due to the numbers of people in that area and the minorities, that we wanted to, that's where we really wanted to, that's the community right there that we wanted to help. So yeah, and then it was like one of the few lots that was actually big enough to build the grocery store that we really wanted.
We also looked into access. So we haven't thought about the GIS thing that you had mentioned, but we also looked at, how far people are going to have to walk in that district radius to get to the store, or how far the bus stops are away. But again, the delivery aspect would really, really help out with that.
Okay, well, thank you, Tyler, Mary, Margareta, Jacob, and Lindsay. Thank you all for being here also, who are in the audience, and the good questions that we got. And for everybody who participated today in Catalyst Day, I know many of you will be at awards convocation this evening, so I hope to see you there. And thank you all again for all the work that you've done through the semester.